On YouTube, A Crown, the Three Range Bros council member, is the creator of The Author's Crown. These are his stories.
Hello everyone, welcome to The Author's Crown. My name is A Crown. In this channel I will present to you stories written by both myself and occasionally stories written by good friends of mine. So without further ado, let's get this show started.
Kamen Rider, Hub of Heroes, Episode 2, A Heroine Rises.
Open my eyes and charge, throwing a huge kick, but my grandfather Joe easily ducks it and says, "Such an obvious move." I growl, a bit frustrated. I never can seem to keep up with him no matter how hard I try. I throw a question mark kick and it manages to hit, but he blocks it. Even though he blocked it, I'm getting closer. He couldn't avoid that one. I say, "I'm gonna catch up to you, Grandpa." He smiles and says, "Maybe one day, but don't get cocky." And he secretly uses his cane to pull my leg from underneath me. "Ugh, not the cane move again," I say as I lie on the ground. He walks over to me and helps me up, saying, "I'll stop using it when it stops working." He smiles as he supports himself with it and says, "It always did work on your mother, too." "Okay, Grandpa," I say as I smile. He gestures towards the house and says, "Let's get some breakfast before you head to school." "Do we have to? I'm 18 and in college now, Grandpa. I can get my own breakfast," I say. He sternly looks at me and I say, "Okay, Grandpa, I'm sorry." He smiles as I follow him and we head to the kitchen. After arriving, I sit and he makes us some eggs, bacon, and toast. He puts the plates on the table and sits down. As we begin eating, he looks at me and says, "Oh, and by the way, I have a special present for you when you get home this evening." "Really, Grandpa, you can't just give it to me now," I say as I crunch a piece of bacon. He looks at me and says, "I have to finish getting it ready." I look at my watch and realizing what time it is, I quickly eat the rest of my food. "Okay, Grandpa, I gotta go, otherwise I'm gonna be late." "Okay, Lee, I'll see you later. I love you, be careful," he says as he slowly eats his food. I put my plate in the sink and hug him, saying, "I love you, Grandpa." I run out of the kitchen and grab my backpack before heading out the front door. I go off to class on my birthday as if it's just another day. I don't have many friends except for my best friend Jack, who meets me in the parking lot. She runs up to me yelling, "Happy birthday, Lily." I roll my eyes and say, "Thanks, Jack, but how many times do I have to tell you to stop calling me that?" She smiles and replies, "And how many times do I have to say I'm not going to?" We hug each other and she says, "So what are we doing tonight for your big day?" "Not a thing. My grandpa wants me home right after school today. He says he has a special present for me," I answer. "Probably more martial arts stuff. Maybe afterwards we can do something," Jack says with a slightly annoyed look on her face. "Maybe," I say as we walk to the parking lot. I then see him, Dan Chang, the most popular guy in the school and my crush. As I focus on him, my inner voice says, "Dan Chang, he's so dreamy," and I fail to see the curb in front of me and trip, falling flat on my face with a huge thud. Everyone laughs except for Dan as Jack says, "So good at martial arts, but falls flat on her face in front of Dan Chang every time." Dan walks over to me and crouches down to help and asks, "Hey Lee, are you okay?" I look up and start up, "Yeah, thanks to Dan." He looks around at the giggling and he helps me up and says, "Hey, I heard it's your birthday. Happy birthday." I say, "Oh, thanks to Dan." He smiles, which drives my emotions crazy, and he says something I never expected. "I wanted to find and talk to you anyway." "Huh?" I respond. He adjusts his backpack and says, "I'm throwing a party tonight and I wanted to invite you." My face goes blank as the voice in my head yells, "Oh yeah, Dan Chang asked me to come to his house. Woohoo!" On the outside, I calmly say, Sure, I'd love to come." Dan chuckles and says, "Cool. See you later, Lee." My inner voice continues yelling this time, saying, "Goodbye, my love." Jack walks up to me and says, "I can't believe he just asked you to his party." "Me either." "Oh, crap. Grandpa will never let me go," I say. Jack grabs me by my arm and says, "It's okay. Just sit him down, look him in the eyes, and talk to him. I'm sure he'll let you go after he gives you your present." "Maybe you're right. I better get to class," I say as I hug her. She hugs me back and says, "Okay, see you later, Lily." I turn and scowl at her, but she giggles and walks away smiling. Later that day, on my way home, I get a message from Jack that says, "Don't forget about the party, Lily." I smile and I reply, "I won't, Jacqueline." She texts back almost instantly saying, "Do not call me Jacqueline." I smile looking at my phone as I walk up to the house. I stop when I notice that the door is open. I cautiously approach it and open it, saying, "Grandpa, is everything okay?" I get no answer and call out again. Each time I call out and get no response, I get more worried as I continue my way through the house. I walk into Grandpa's room and see everything torn apart and thrown about. "My God, Grandpa, I hope you're okay," I say to myself. I look out the window into the backyard and see the shed open. I run outside and walk into the shed, creeping my way around looking. See nothing unusual, but then I see a strange crawl space open. I get down to look at it and I say, "I've never seen this before." I climb in and work my way down the ladder. I reach the bottom and open the door, seeing a very technological looking room, sleek with monitors and consoles everywhere. I walk in a bit shocked and say, "What? Grandpa, you wouldn't know about any of this stuff." I continue looking around and that's when I hear my grandfather's voice moaning in pain. I turn quickly looking for the source of the voice and I see my grandfather lying on the ground. I run over to him, seeing that he's bleeding from multiple spots on both his chest and his back. I kneel down to him and help him to a sitting position as I say, "Grandpa, oh my God, we gotta get you some help." He coughs. "No, it's too late." Frantically, I look around for a phone and I say, "We can call 911, it'll be okay, Grandpa." He yells, "Listen, I am not your grandfather." Taken aback by the revelation, I say, What do you mean?" He grabs my hand and says, "When you were a little girl, I knew your parents well. So when they were killed, I took you in to protect you." "Killed? You told me my parents died in a car accident," I respond a bit angrily. He looks at me with tears in his eyes and says, "I'm sorry. Lying to you has been the hardest thing over all these years. But now, we don't have time for this. Go over there on the console and type in JFO 978-406-73152 and everything will be explained." I look at the console and then back at him as he closes his eyes. I say, "No, I want you to explain it to me. Please don't leave." He barely gets out, "I love you, Lee," for his eyes shut and he takes his last breath. No, please no, Grandpa, please, I love you," I scream out as I cradle his body in my arms. Do you enjoy podcasts? Do you enjoy listening to two brothers arguing and rambling about a specific topic? Then Zeo to Hero is the podcast for you. Listen to them nerd out about anything from Power Rangers to crippling toy addictions to computer stuff for the low price of free. But hurry, this deal will only last for an unlimited time, so subscribe now. I cry before looking back over at the console. I sadly lay his body down and walk over to it, typing in what he told me to. The monitor springs to life as a video of my grandfather appears. The video makes me tear up as I watch as he says, "Lee, if you are watching this, then I am dead. I am sorry, but I am not truly your grandfather. I am not even from this world." My jaw drops as the video continues on, saying, "I come from a distant planet where my people are an evil, war-bringing species. I am one of the few who chose not to make war, so I ran and came here. Before you were born, I crashed where this very shed sits. Your parents were passing by and they helped me. The reason I'm telling you all this is because I need to become a heroine." "A heroine?" I ask aloud. The video then says, "My people possess the ability to create anything in our imagination. There is a being in Voluma City who I believe is of our species. He creates evil monsters named horrors to attack the people there. I have trained you since you were little to take this responsibility. At this point in the recording, the console will have revealed the issue driver and its transformation books. As the video says this, the driver rises out of the console. I approach it consciously and pick it up, examining it. The shell of it is orange. On the top, it has a book-shaped slot, and in the center of it are red lights. I look at the book on one side. I see a character with yellow hair and an orange suit, which says Naruto. The other side, there's an orange-haired character with a black and white robe. On the bottom, it says Bleach. I recognize them both because me and Grandpa love to watch anime and read manga. I hold the driver to my waist and the belt automatically wraps around my waist and says, "Issue driver." I say, "Whoa, this thing is awesome." I turn back to the video which says, "Now to transform, you must hit the buttons on both sides of the book. It will say the name of the issue and then you will put it in the driver. I hope you'll do it flashy like your favorite manga character, Tengen Uzui." I smile as the video then says, "After putting the book in the driver, wait for the music to stop playing, and then wave your hand in front of the red scanner and say, 'Henshin.' But don't do it right now," the video says. I take the driver off and listen as the video then says, "Now I know this is a lot to take in, and even more to ask of you to leave everything you know to fight evil. But the world is going to need you." I smile, and even though he can't hear me, I say, "I'll do it, Grandpa." The video responds, "I can't hear you, but I know you're going to say yes because you always do what's right. Now take the driver and the books and go to Volume City. There you will find a fellow member of my species. She can help guide you. Good luck, Lee. Remember, I will love you always." I cry a bit as the video ends. I walk over and grab a nearby backpack, putting both the driver and the transformation book in it. I head to the elevator and go up, walking through the yard and into the house. I grab my phone and some clothes. I also take all the money in the house I can find in Grandpa's wallet. I put the clothes and wallet in my bag and pull up Volume City on my GPS. I put in my earbuds and grab a set of keys. I then head outside and pull Grandpa's motorcycle out of the garage. I get on and I nervously start it. In my head, I could hear his voice all the times he taught me how to ride it. I focus and put on my helmet and head out of the driveway and down the street, racing off towards my destiny. Racing down the highway, I soon arrive at Volume City. I've never been in this big of a city before. There's huge skyscrapers everywhere and shops on almost every corner. I slowly drive through the streets, unsure of where to go. I stop at a gas station for some gas and a drink. As I get back on my bike, I can hear some people nearby talking. One of them saying, "Did you see that monster thing? It had machetes for hands. It was crazy." The other person says, "Yeah, it was destroying everything. It even threw one guy through an old woman's shop." I think about Grandpa's last words and decide to just check the shop out, just in case. I walk over and ask him where the shop was, and they gave me directions. I thanked them and got on my bike, driving off towards the shop. A few moments later, I pull up outside the shop, looking over at the window being repaired. Inside, I could see an old woman helping customers. I leave my helmet on my bike and pass by a younger man as I walked in. The old woman then greeted me, asking, "How can I help you?" I respond, "This might be a bit strange, but my name's Lee Ryumazaki. My grandfather was Joe Feng Ryumazaki." She stopped me mid-sentence and said, "I haven't seen Joe Feng in a long time. How is he?" A sad look came over my face as I said, "He's gone." "Oh, I'm so sorry." "I take it he told you about everything," she says. I could hear screaming outside, and someone peeked their head in the door, saying, "Some more of those horror things are outside," before running off. The old woman looked at me and said, "Do you have them?" I nod and pull the driver and book out of my bag. She takes it and puts it behind the counter and then says, "Go. Come back here and we'll talk when it's done." I say thank you and run off out the door. I follow the screaming and I'm surprised when I see someone in an armored suit fighting off a group of the monsters. All of the monsters were wearing black, tattered leather. One of them had no eyes but two chattering sets of teeth. Another, quite portly, wearing sunglasses and brandishing a weird blade connected to its hand. The third appeared to be female with wires coming out of its deformed face and body, as she was trying to wrap the wires from its hands around the armored hero. The final one, standing back far from the battle, directing the others, had chains extending from a weird golden cube in its chest, and pins extending from its line-patterned face. The creatures noticed me, and then the leader growled, directing the chattering one towards me. The armored hero yelled, "Go! Get out of here!" The chattering monster got near me and tried to bite me. I ducked out of its grasp and roundhouse kicked it from the side, knocking it to the ground. I pulled the issue driver from behind me and put it on my waist. The belt wrapped around me as the driver said, "Issue driver." The armored hero says, "Wait, how did she get an issue driver?" I pulled out the transformation book, then pressed the buttons on each side as it says, "Naruto, Bleach." I tossed the book from one hand up over my head into the other, and then slid it in the slot as the driver said, "Manga open." Then began playing a melody, and when it stopped, I spun around, swiping my hands in front of the driver, and then taking a fighting pose before yelling, "Henshin!" A bright light flashed as the driver said, "Manga Heroine." The driver then launched out an orange figure that looked like Naruto Uzumaki, and a black and white figure that looked like Ichigo Kurosaki. They both covered my body, and I was covered in an orange, black, and white armor as an orange and yellow helmet appeared on my head. Then a massive sword with symbols like the Leaf Village and Soul Reaper Society symbols appeared in my hand. The next moment, as the light dissipated, I was standing there, armored and ready for a fight. The chattering horror attacked again. I blocked its grab, throwing it into the air towards the portly horror, knocking them both to the ground. "Whoa, another rider!" The other armored hero said as the female horror charged towards me. He turned toward the leader and flew towards it with the shield in his hand. I see the three horrors all approaching me from each side. I say aloud, "Let's see what this thing can do." I hold the sword at the ready and block an attack from the female's wires. I saw the leaf symbol glowing on my sword, and I pressed it. A light flashed as I felt myself be copied twice. I looked on both sides of me and saw clones of myself. I said, "Whoa, shadow clones." My clones nodded and gave me a thumbs up as they began to each fight a horror. I battled the female and deflected her attacks easily now that I could focus on her. After fighting for a few moments, I saw the Soul Reaper Society glowing, and I pressed it. My sword then changed into a Senpakuto, and I felt the energy charge around it. My clones did the same, and we all three charged the demons and slashed through them easily as they fell and exploded. My clones then disappeared as I watched as the other hero flew through the air, blasting heat beams from his helmet, blasting away the chains coming towards him. He then slammed his shield into the leader, and the leader was blown to bits. We walked up to each other and say, "I didn't know there was another one. My grandpa didn't say anything about a second hero." "Neither did Ellen," he says. "I guess we're teammates then?" I asked. He held out his hand and replied, "Looks like it." I took his hand and shook it, as a crowd began to gather around us, cheering. Nearby, unknown to us, a mysterious hooded figure in the crowd watched us intently before walking away and vanishing into thin air. And that's today's episode of Kamen Rider, Hub of Heroes. If you liked what you heard today, be sure to go and check out the other podcasts and channels from the Zio to Hero network of podcasts and the Three Ranger Bros. And thank you for listening, and be sure to
subscribe to the channel. Do it now.